welcome back to my channel. I am Doris Sherman. I am the founder of Inspired Publications and the publisher of Inspired Magazine. I am so glad that you found this video, especially if you are a brand owner who is struggling to get meaningful press exposure. Today I want to share something that completely changed the way of how I think about brand building. I want to talk a lot of experiences I gained over the last couple years in this industry. I've worked in journalism and media publishing now for over 15 years. And I launched Inspired Magazine back in 2016 because after I interviewed hundreds of startups and founders during my career as a journalist, I realized how hard it was for founders to get proper press exposure, obviously the attention that they truly deserve, and I'm talking specifically about startups and small business owners. So even to this day, I keep hearing the same story over and over again, and that is that algorithms, especially on all the social media platforms, are making it harder than ever to get a proper visibility in the media landscape. So today, we're not only talking about we're not talking about at all about the latest trend or social media platform. We're going back to the roots and diving into why I believe that your brand needs a magazine to stand out. And before you scroll away now and think like print is dead, please come on, please stick around. This might just be the move that you need in order to cut through all of the digital noise that you find on social media. So we will talk about, well, your brand needs a magazine and why it's actually way more doable than you think. So grab a coffee and or take me on your walk and let's get right into it. So I have to apologize, my voice probably is I'm curious how long it will hold because it's going in and out today, but we will get through this. So the first thing I want to talk about is why brands need a story and not just content. So here's the thing. We have been taught now for years that more content equals better marketing, and that means we have to create more reels, more posts, more noise, more photography. Like everything has to be on point. But in all that speed, what we oftentimes lose is the depth and the meaning, and of course like the connection to our customers, right? Because everything has to go so fast. A magazine, on the other hand, gives you the space to slow down, and it invites your customers into your world in a way bigger and more meaningful way. But it also tells people, we are not just here to sell you something. We are here to tell the story. We are here to share our values and, of course, to connect with you on a personal level. And it's not even just about what you sell. It's about why you started, what you believe, and who are you behind your brand. I mean, there could be like a million beauty brands out there. Like, what makes your brand stand out? What makes you different? And by telling the stories, that definitely always helps. So let's look at a few brands who've done this in a very brilliant way. So there is Patagonia, who has a magazine called The Cleanest Line, where it's not just about ads, it's about essays. They have photo stories and environmental content. They're an outdoor gear company. Then we have Airbnb launched a magazine called Pineapple, which is a travel magazine. This one is not about bookings, it's about exploring cultures. And then we got Lego, who has a full-on kids magazine. There is no hard selling, it's just imagination, storytelling, and fun. And then we have Red Bull. They do a fantastic job of not selling their actual product, which is, of course, the energy drink, but they sell instead the lifestyle of adventure, adrenaline, and extreme sports. So the energy drink plays a role, but it's not pushed to the forefront. So they make it a really, really cool way to really, push the whole lifestyle as a whole thing. So what these brands understood is when people feel something, they remember it and they come back because they enjoy it and because it's different, right? Another cool thing is that people are not tossing these magazines away like they would throw out flyers on a trade show, for example, right? You have them like in 2 minutes later, they're gone, they're in the trash, and yeah, sometimes even minutes after you receive them, right? So the thing with magazines is that people keep them, they share them, and they come back to them even days later, and they read through them. They're really taking their time, and that's what I consider timeless marketing, right? So what should go in your own magazine, you might ask? So here are some ideas to spark some inspiration. First thing is obviously founder stories. You can get personal and let people in. You can show them who the founder is, how the brand was built, maybe even share some struggles along the way. Founder stories are making brands incredibly relatable and are almost always very inspiring. And then you could do product features, for example, not in form of ads, but through storytelling. So if you have a brand that sells outdoor gear, coming back to Patagonia, for example, take your product on a hike and just write about it. And that makes really, really good content with photography and experience and everything. Then you can do customer spotlights where you could, put your testimonials in a really cool, really cool way. Then you can have behind the scenes write-ups. You can show your manufacturing, how your team works, how you create campaigns, all the messy parts behind the scenes. And then you could even go as far as creating like mood boards and playlists and recipes and basically everything that reflects your brand's vibe. And then if you are planning, for example, to do collaborations with other brands, this is a really cool way of including your magazine, but your content, your lifestyle, your product, but also pulling in other brands to collaborate with you on an issue. So you can be practical, playful, just whatever fits your vibe. The overall goal here is to make your magazine feel like it's the entrance to your world and build trust on a level that connects directly to them without being dependent on a third platform, social media, or if a media outlet likes your story or your product. Sometimes it's not even if they like you or your brand. If they already have a brand from the same industry that you are in, maybe they pick them because they have more budget, or they know the founder, or they were the first to sign. Could be as easy as that, and then you're basically out of the game. So the press struggle is real. So in saying that, I want to also talk about something that so many founders stress over, and that is getting the press itself, right? The press attention. So I bet you have been told before you need to be featured, that you should hire a PR agency or an agent, or that someone needs to pitch your story. Here's the truth, and that might sting a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. You don't need a gatekeeper to tell your story. So I'm going to ask you, why should you spend thousands of dollars chasing one paragraph in someone else's publication if you can own an entire media outlet? Just think about it. And while I bet some of you are thinking, well, I'm not paying for press. I only do organic stuff. I'm not paying for any features or like ads or something. I challenge you to think again, because the truth is, press is never free. You might not pay the actual journalist who is writing the story about you, but are you paying a PR agent? Or are you hiring someone like in the marketing team to pitch you all day so they can find you press? And how many pitches do they have to send before they actually land something that is actually worth talking about? And I'm not talking about gift guides, I'm talking about actual exposure. So yes, you are still paying for press. You're just not paying actually the person who is writing about you. But it's not organic. It's not free. And so if you own your own independent magazine, you can take all that power back in your hands because you become the media. And the wild part of this is, once you start showing up with a clear voice and a message, the press often follows because they keep their eyes on the newsstand all day long, and they will notice you sooner or later, and then they will come and ask you, and you don't have to beg for it. So no more waiting to be picked. No more waiting for building your spotlight. You build it your own, and then you invite people in. The next thing is also I want to scratch. I already scratched a little bit on my next topic, but let's get real here for a minute. Traditional press is expensive. PR agencies charge anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 a month, sometimes more, depending on the contract, and they cannot give you any guarantee of landing you something. And you might get a small mention in a roundup or a placement in a gift guide, but most of the time this is hidden somewhere on page 178 with like a little 100-word block in the link. But let's be honest, what does that actually do for your brand awareness, for your sales? What does that little thing like featured in Forbes, what does it do for you? Oftentimes not a lot. So unless you are Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos or Kim Kardashian, the chances of landing major exposure, and I'm talking about multiple pages spread where you have the space to tell your story, maybe even be on a cover to really play on the forefront and to have like the maximum exposure, the chances that you land something like that are very, very slim. So, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is impossible to get press. People and brands are getting featured all the time. But oftentimes they are very hidden, and unless you lead your audience to exactly where that feature is published, no one is finding you. And because you are being buried in an entire 200-page issue competing with I don't know how many brands, because exposure is always depending on how much budget you have. And that is just the naked truth. So, think about it. What if you took that same budget you spent maybe on paying a PR agency to pitch you, and you created your own magazine? I'm talking about creating evergreen content that you can use again and again and again, like even a year from now, right? Unless your story changes and you were first a fashion brand and later on you're doing food, the story is still the same, right? And so a digital version might cost you nothing. A small print run, maybe a few $100s. But now you're not paying for a small feature, you're actually publishing the entire magazine, and you have full control over it. You control the narrative, you control the story, and you stop begging people to understand your brand and show them exactly who you are. And that, my friend, is the real ROI of running your own magazine. And you don't even have to print thousands of copies to make this work for you. Like, you have options here. So you could create a beautiful PDF and share it via email on your site or on your newsletter. Or if you want to print, issues, you can use services like Mixam or Blurb. They let you print 10 copies, 50 copies, 100 copies, or even more if you need more. Or you can go for the hybrid version and drop maybe a digital mini issue each month, and then do a quarterly printed edition where you combine all of your previous content in one issue, and then you just do a big print run. And you don't also have to create 200-page magazine. Like, no one is forcing you to do that. Even a thoughtfully designed 20-page issue can spark real connection between you and your customers. It's just print slows people down. It feels intentional, it feels real, and it feels really genuine. And that actually brings me to a point where I want to talk about the secret sales power of a magazine. So I always call a magazine a non-salesy sales funnel. It makes people fall in love with your brand, but without the pressure, because your products become part of the story and are not just a price tag pushed in their face. For example, if you create a beautiful designed cozy morning ritual spread, and there is your handmade mug in the photo, or your candle, or if you have a pet brand, your dog treats because your dog is part of the whole brand, people connect with these experiences because it's not just about the price tag. And yes, you can still drive sales because you can include QR codes, for example, that lead to your shop, or to your website, or to your podcast, or to your newsletter, or to a landing page of like a campaign you're starting, or like a product, or like a project you're collaborating with, like a charity. Or you can lead them wherever you want them to go. But long story short, this works because it doesn't feel like marketing. It feels like a genuine connection and, honest storytelling. So I also want to ask you, why do you want to be featured in the press? And I bet it has something to do with credibility, with trust, with reaching new audiences. And the fact is that people trust publishers. They earned a level of trust that even after all these years, when everyone was saying that, print is dead, brands still pitch magazines and newspapers because they see something here, a level of trust that those outlets won over the years that is not going anywhere. So when your brand creates a magazine, even if it's just a tiny one, again, with 20 pages, you shift from just being another brand to someone with a message, to someone with a point of view and a purpose, someone who updates them regularly on a very high quality way. And most of all, and that's my favorite part, you're not asking anyone for likes or comments or shares. You're creating a world with your customer. You're creating a world that your customers want to return to. The same way that Vogue has this magic of a fashion empire, even though they're not selling any clothes, but they write about them and they make the brands and the audience trust them so much to a point where they don't even have to say, hey, I have a great product, buy me. They come back because they love the bubble they built. So even sending out a small issue on a regular basis can feel like a gift to your customers and not a sales pitch. So, in saying that, does your brand need a magazine? In my opinion, if you care about building trust, telling better stories, and standing out in a noisy world, then 100%. Yes. It doesn't need to be fancy. It just needs to be real. And if you are curious about making one, if you ever thought about having an independent magazine for your brand, then hit that subscribe button, follow along, and drop a comment if this sparked any ideas or interest. I'm planning on doing a lot more videos on this topic in the near future. And hey, if you have already a magazine or want to start one, tell me what your first issue would be about. I would love to hear all about it. And thank you so much for sticking around until the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did creating it. Until next time, I hope you take care, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.